All right, now that we're a little bit more familiar with these snaky dudes, as I like to call them, it's time to get hands-on and start crafting our ring band. In this lesson, we'll take our newfound curve knowledge and apply it to build a solid base for our design. It's the foundation for all the bling that's coming up. So if you start a new file, usually you have the cube and the camera and the light, and we can just delete these, or at least the cube, by selecting it and hitting X. And I have created a new collection where I put my camera and my light just as a rendering base. We can turn that collection off, and I will add all my models in a new collection called model. And if you want to create new collection, you can just right click in here and create new collection. This is basically like a folder in your Finder or Explorer, or like a layer in Photoshop. It is there to keep everything organized and enable you to hide and unhide multiple objects at once. Okay, so I will create my curves in my model collection. And if you download the basic file, you will have this 3 collection setup that I do here as well. This has served me very well with multiple projects. Okay, for now, let's press 7 on your numpad to go into top view, or no, go to 1 on your numpad to go into front view, hide all the render setup. And let's press Shift A and give this file a new circle, just the one here at the top. And then align it with a view. That's why I wanted to go into front view with 1 on your numpad to just have it aligned to view and not having it skewed somewhere. And then we can scale this up a little bit depending on how big we want to have it. And then you have another option. Let me just hide this here for a second. If you included the JewelCraft add-on, you can just go to the JewelCraft add-on in the N menu and go to Curve, and you can choose Size Curve. Here you will have a lot of options to choose your preferred ring size. In Germany, usually we use the circumference as a reference, so I use 52, which would be 6 in USA and L.5 in Britain. So let's create 52 size circle, and I was a little bit too big here, but that's the ring size circle, and I would just call it ring band. Because I promised you that this would be a class about curves, and we will do as much of the modeling purely with curves. So I will delete the other circle I created and just continue with this ring band. Let's hide the N menu. Let's go into the curve functions. Let's go to geometry, give it some round beveling, and also give this some extrusion. Now we could use this right away as a basis for a flat ring band, but I would like to build 2 bands to the left and right of my ornaments so that the ornaments float in the middle between them. For this, of course, we can use the tilt value of the curve in the N menu. So go into edit mode with tab, go to item, and make sure that all the control points are selected. You can just do this with A, and then set the mean tilt to 90. And this will give us this flat space disk here. Of course, we can make the extrusion a little bit less dramatic and just give it some shape that you initially like. And you can always change that later, of course. So now, since we want 2 of those circles, we want to have a mirrored version on the other side. So first, I would move it in object mode with G and Y a little bit along Y. And then I would give it a mirror modifier. So initially nothing happens because this thing mirrors across itself, which is the origin. Okay, so that's why we don't see anything happen when we turn on the mirror in any axis. So it would be helpful if we want to mirror it across the center to create a helper object. And I pretty much always just do that with Shift A and creating an empty. And an empty is a helper object that does not show in any render. It is just there to assist you with any modeling or animation or stuff like that, to make things follow along it, or to just use it as a mirror object for our mirror modifier. So let's just call that thing mirror. And let's now plug it in here. And maybe still there's nothing happening, and this is why it is still mirroring across X, and since it is symmetrical across X, you won't see anything. But if you now turn on Y, you will see that it appears on the other side. You can turn off X so that we just mirrored across Y, And if we now move it across Y, you can make your ring broader or narrower. You could, in theory, also use the offset settings in the curve properties here, and this would move the ring band as well. But if you go to edit mode, you will see that this moves the curve away from the original handles. And this can get sometimes a little bit confusing. By the way, if you want to stop trying out some values, you can just right click out of there and it will snap back to its original value. So I would just suggest to move this in object mode. And it will just mirror across the mirror object in the center. Awesome! So that's our basic ring band. Let's save this. Save as, and super nice! Congratulations!